Well, anybody who knows me knows that I'm a big fan of old-time radio. Of course, I've worked in radio most of my life, so that's my medium. As anybody knows, it's like another time I've been call centers over the years. Did you have a broadcast voice? So, no, tell me about it. So, anyway. But a little story about old-time radio. One of my favorite characters, and then the more important reason for the price of admission is a little about myself. The real skimmy on Brother Mark, Turner syndrome, butterflies, and life. So, one of my favorite radio comedies was actually the Jack Benny radio show. I mean, Jack Benny transferred quite well to TV, but I still think, and even the writers at the time when the Jack Benny shows, thought there was a lot more creativity that can be done in radio. So, I mean, there were a lot of cast of characters and well-written characters in the Jack Benny radio show. My personal favorite was always Frank Nelson. Frank Nelson was usually the ticket clerk or a department store sales associate, better known in those days as like floor walker, which was a kind of a department store lead. Or he was also kind of the ticket clerk in the railroad station. And of course, the running gag on the Jack Benny show was Jack Benny was like, "Oh, mister, yes!" just cracked up everybody every time. And Nelson was really good that way. Or I could still hear Jack Benny saying, "Well, you make me sick." Well, not exactly penicillin to me either. I actually had a chance to impersonate Frank Nelson many years ago as an usher at the Cincinnati Music Hall, a grand edifice. Looking up sometime, you could see that was probably one of my favorite jobs. Didn't pay much, but hey, you got in to see the Cincinnati Symphony and the opera and the ballet for free. So hey, what a perk! But one day, Garrison Keillor was actually performing that night. Back then, Prairie Home Companion fame, and newspaper reporters come to interview him afterwards, and she was kind of watching the whole scene go down. Elderly couple came by, smartly dressed, obviously from one of the better sections of Cincinnati, probably from Hyde Park or Mount Lookout, or even maybe Mount Adams. And I have this big badge that says an usher. It takes about a quarter of my uniform, and little lady comes up and says, "Excuse me, are you the usher?" "No, I'm Frank Nelson." And they stopped for a second and they went, they just cracked up laughing. And there was a newspaper reporter, and she thought that was absolutely hysterical. So she ended up interviewing me, and she did get around to doing Keillor, of course, but she had just a fun time interviewing me and what I liked about the job being an usher at the music hall. I later got a new job working at Lazarus, which was in Cincinnati, a predecessor to Macy's, and I just started the job, and the newspaper reporter came and said, "Hi, Mr. Nelson." My boss, who was a prim and proper lady, heard of the goings down, and she's very strict, very prim and proper, and she took me aside. "I heard what you did to one of our patrons tonight. It was kind of a wonderful piece of theatrics." I thought, oh great, I'm done. Peggy's going to fire me. And she just smiled. "Okay, I'll let you get away with it this time." She knows. So, but anyway. Another favorite character, which really brings me to kind of this afternoon's episode, was with Mel Blanc man of 1,000 voices. He did hundreds of different voices for Warner Brothers cartoons, Hanna-Barbera, Best than Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Yosemite Sam, and he was also a stage actor on both the TV and the radio show. But there was a bit on the Jack Benny TV show, and when Jack Benny was doing a takeoff on community auditions, in his first. The first contestant was played by Mel Blanc, and he said, I can do impersonations. I said, oh, well, that's great. Can you do a horse? Now, obviously, I can't do as well as Mel Blanc. And he said, well, I can also do an English horse. And I said, oh, well, that sounds great. How's that go? So again, nobody could do it better than Mel Blanc. So, over the past 2 years, we've had the safety net for butterflies, of being able to be safe from all drama, safe from chaos, and safe from judgment, was taken away from a group, ironic enough, called the Naysayers. Well, and they were spreading some of the most wild and preposterous rumors about me that would make the editors of the National Enquirer blush. And I mean, some of my favorites was, my mom is from Des Moines, Iowa. She wears army boots. I'm just surprised how much mileage we got out of that gag. Or I was accused of doing square dance calling in a roundhouse. Or my wife and I weren't married. Of course, we know about the Captain Kangaroo cult. That one of the naysayers got kind of taken to task. It was like, oh, Spencer, sorry. Hey, you gotta have a good sense of humor in this line of work. I'll tell you. Hey, it beats the alternative. What can I say? Words in English, palabras in Espanol. So, a lot of people are afraid to ask. They know something's wrong. They know something about the bullying. A lot of the stuff I can't tell you because of the ongoing investigation. But in a general way, I can tell you a little about myself, and I can answer the question: who is Brother Mark Seward? How did this channel called Brother Mark Turner Syndrome, Butterflies in Life get started? And instead of hearing from the naysayers, you're going to get it from the horse's mouth himself. So, well, as far as the channel, it was actually inspired by Amy Jo Talaric. She had a wonderful YouTube channel called Life with Amy Turner Syndrome. Just no sacred cows with her, and she was delighted to hit all aspects of Turner Syndrome, good, bad, and ugly. And there were no sacred cows, but also at the same time, she was such an encouraging mother hen. And just had such words of encouragement. And that's probably why I was always just very, very fond of her effort. And just very supportive, and just cheering her on from the background. And Amy did a lot of her videos driving in her car, and it just kind of fit. Later, she'd also do ones from her home, and oftentimes I do one sitting in front of my computer where I'm just sharing. But I wanted to share, obviously we had to deal with the bullying, but ultimately I wanted to share my experience through hope, and just to know Turner Syndrome, to know the butterflies, And just how can I know what Turner syndrome is? Of course I do. How do I know what the Turner syndrome sisters go through? Because I talk to them. And that's how the channel started. And I think it's about a year and a half old. I think Amy started hers in, I think it was back about this time, about 2 years ago. I'd have to go back and look at my notes. But how did I get involved in Turner syndrome? You know, there's a myth and some abusive, really militant corners of Turner syndrome that only Turner syndrome women should be in it. Well, I just say offhand, it's not going to work. That means half your board at the Turner syndrome society would be axed. I mean, maybe about a third, but it's very prominent contributors. That means, scientists trying to research. I mean, not even Henry Turner himself would have to be excluded. Wait a minute. Whoa. Hold it. What about counselors and doctors? What about the husbands who sing every year at the Turner Syndrome Society convention? My girl. Okay, maybe it's not. It may not be the most professional, but you gotta love the love of the dads, the husbands, the brothers. I love it. Love it. Well, obviously, on that one, just in case point, everybody knows that even though I'm an evangelical, everybody knows that I support a Jesuit college in Cleveland by name John Carroll University. Why? Because I love what they do. I love their mission. I've spoken with students. I speak regularly with alumni, and I've seen what the university has offered, past and the present. And why not? Also, the story was just a short version of that one. When life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. That's kind of the short version, and it's paid dividends. But my story, as far as I can tell, the first person with Turner syndrome that I ever knew, I must confess at the time, and I'm not proud of it, but I felt like an elephant around a mouse. And by the way, look up YouTube at mice and elephants. It's not a wise tale. They've acted scientifically, and it's curious. But the first time I met somebody with Turner syndrome, I didn't know what to expect, and I'm not proud of my initial impressions. I'm long past it. And what finally happened is, anybody who knows me I'm a man of prayer. Anybody in my faith tradition knows that I can sense trouble and drop everything and pray for somebody. And curiously enough, on a Saturday night, my wife and I were just sitting at home. It was 10 o'clock in the evening back in May of 2015. I said, wait a minute, I've got to pray for this butterfly. She's hurting. And I dropped everything, and next day we were all in Sunday school, and sure enough, and Michelle and I said, let's go ahead and just take a chance on her. And I've never regretted it. And she was very open about her condition. And one very thing that she's very important about, she says, I I do not let my condition define me. Like a lot of sisters, she grew up from School of Hard Knocks. Graduated. She's not there yet, but I'm sure she's going to graduate summa cum laude when the Lord's done with her. We spent a lot of time just talking and texting. I could encourage her. She can make me laugh. I can make her laugh. And I said, well, and I just decided, okay, what is Turner syndrome? Well, naturally, I joined the Turner Syndrome Society. And they sent me everything I needed to start with. And I got the National Institutes of Health report. And I started reading and learning. And one day we were out on a Chasing Butterflies walk. And she was telling her story. And she talked about some of the near misses and some of the things that could have happened to her but didn't. And I started listening to it. And I had that real odd feeling of deja vu that, wait a minute, this butterfly is playing my song. Her story's a lot like mine. Especially when it came to the learning disabilities and her school experiences growing up, even though there's a difference of 30 years. That made me wonder. I learned about Turner syndrome, the good, bad, and the ugly, so I saw some of the pratfalls, and sometimes it made for some messy scrapes, but I learned from them, and so did the butterfly. And we learned about boundaries. It was a wonderful experience for her because she never thought about it. And she was able to exercise them. When something bothered her, she could tell me, and I'd learn. And I learned that the condition can definitely have its days. Many butterflies can feel to borrow from Jim McKay of ABC Wide World Sport, many butterflies can feel the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. And I could relate to times that the condition just didn't work, and I said, the sister said, other times you just want to bang a hole in the wall and say, oh yeah. Well, as time went on, we went our separate ways. But I decided I still had, even though that butterfly and I went our separate ways, I decided could the things I share with that butterfly about boundaries and self-care and being able to listen, being powerless, living life at life's terms, could I just take some of those life concepts and what would happen if I share them? Just on a lark. I decided, okay. Just on a lark. I said, yeah, just for the heck of it. And what I shared was well received. Mark, there's some really good ways of looking at it. Or I'd get comments like, I never saw it that way. So I just decided somewhere along the line, with no fanfare, to be a supportive brother. And I remember I went through a big screening interview with two butterflies. And it must have been an hour and a half, 2 hours. We were talking, and they wanted to make sure that I wasn't the person that a lot of the naysayers were making me out to be. And they ask hard questions, and I answer them matter of factly. Sometimes I squirm, sometimes I swallow it hard, but I was honest. And I said, and after an hour and a half, one woman who was very close friends of the original Butterfly and I said, okay, Mark, welcome to the community. Welcome aboard. And I was able to start, through social media, I just started reaching out, telling them about myself, and just started befriending other butterflies, and just sharing, and just socializing, and I just decided, with no pretensions, one way or the other, just to be myself, and just be transparent. Here I am. This is who I am. If I make a mistake, I make a mistake. And then there's some other tough cookies that kind of came along. And I said, could I be friends with that butterfly? And another butterfly was just, it was just a nice acquaintance. But the main thing about her is how she not only survived, but thrived, and how she could overcome her disabilities, and really make a niche for herself. She's just absolutely astounding. I didn't put her on a pedestal. I just appreciated who she was, what she did, her interest in music and her artistry. And after a while, butterflies could come and trust me. One came in the middle of the night, just wanted help. I'm looking for a job. I said, sure. What would you like to know? I was able to give some advice and some pointers. Yeah, about that same time was the suicide attempt. But that sister at the time, though, grew from that experience. And she inspired me. What a group of butterflies. It was just a wonderful, wonderful community. And sometimes it's just nice to see what they were doing to live life and life at its fullest. And if they were having struggles, prayers and cyber, what can I do for you? Hit me up if you need anything. And I'd just be there. I could expect my phone to bark in the middle of the night. Somebody just wanted to chat or insomnia. Well, I said, okay, which butterfly was it this time? And I learned, and the funny thing is I learned about my own learning disabilities, and now I was able to advocate for Turner syndrome. I was able to advocate for myself because I was running some performance issues, and then I was able to share about my learning disabilities with my supervisor, and we get along great. Even if I mess up, she knows what to look for and how to coach me to be all that I can be. And then I just do that for any Turner syndrome sister. And I'm like, Amy, you're butterflies. You've got this. I mean, I have hundreds of stories because I can be blessed, and the blessings seem to work both ways. I've just got so many different stories. One of my favorites, though, was at a Turner syndrome walk, and there was a girl in high school, and adolescents in her condition threw everything at her, and she was angry and depressed. And I pulled my asthma inhaler out, and I turned to this girl, let's call her Kaylee. I said, Kaylee, look, I'm going to be an asthmatic the rest of my life. There's no cure for it. Now, there are medications that can control it, but I don't let my asthma define me. she thought about it. You could kind of see the wheels turning. Yeah, last time I heard, Kaylee's a really thriving member of the community. You got this. And then the sisters have encouraged me. The times we lose sisters, and they check in on me. Unfortunately, we had one person who was I don't know. One person was scared, never really came back and checked, and who bolted. We know the story. She's forgiven because I've done it myself. But somehow, instead of coming to me with my concerns, the one TS mom decided to do her master's thesis on resentment. And instead lashed out in jealousy and resentment and lies and the smear campaign. And now all of us, it was just me. I would have packed up. And the amazing thing was I was. And a Turner Syndrome sister said, "No, Mark, stay. We need you." Okay. And I did. Yeah. But that's the real me. I like to give. I like just to be there. No expectations, no strings attached. And everybody knows my mantra. If you don't feel safe, I don't feel safe. And any communities that I'm in, I'll do everything possible with the others around to make sure it's a community free of chaos, drama, and judgment. One butterfly who knows me knows that she may be afraid. What am I going to do to her? Well, maybe ask her, what did you learn from it? Or I might just sit back and listen. What happened? The amazing thing too, though, throughout this, there's much can be said about going from an ugly caterpillar to being a butterfly. And maybe metaphorically speaking, I've done a lot of ugly things too. A lot of the stories, despite the obvious difference of gender, have some strange parallels, and I can relate. But even that, but one butterfly that I know is royally blown it. Well, as we say in our faith tradition, well, you have blasphemed the Holy Spirit, so that's good. I think my heartfelt desire is to see her laugh again. That'd be better than winning the lottery, I'd always say. But anybody knows me, knows the real me, ask me. I mean, who would want to read the National Enquirer anyway? Trust me, the only thing I have up my arms, the only thing I have up my sleeve are my arms. Yeah, I'm big and imposing, and I'm a teddy bear. I got a little experience, strength, and hope. A little wisdom, a little sense of humor, and I just want to help. And anybody knows me knows that I have and will. Get to know me. I think when the dust settles, maybe we'll do more. Get a chance to know me. So, the butterflies, what can I say? I love them for the world. They bless me. I want to bless them. And whatever it takes for them to keep their wings polished. And to be a blessing to everybody around. What a deal that is. So, I may be big and imposing. Yeah, God's not finished with me. You have any questions? Ask my supervisor. Ask my wife. Ask my roommate, he'll tell you. But when all's said and done, I love to serve. I love to bless. And I just hope the blessings work. So, don't read the National Enquirer. Don't listen to the naysayers. Get it from the horse's mouth, and I don't know. And we'll see. We'll see what the Lord has tomorrow. More shall be revealed. Well, as always, take what you like, leave the rest. That's what I've got. Good talking to you, and I'll talk to you next time.